The lady of the hour, Miss Jamie.
Hey guys.
Let's go. What made you want to create your own breed?
I was born into dogs. My whole life has been dogs. We had litters and we had stuff going on all the time. I don't know how long it's been, like 27 years ago or whatever, is when I wanted to do Shorty Bulls, and that's when I made my own breed.
Yeah, girl, it's been a minute since I played with you. Conversating, do nothing right with you. Hold me close, so ain't nothing wrong with you.
Welcome to NWA Cane Corsos podcast, where we talk all things dogs.
Party, ain't nothing had tonight. Quit trying to make me feel like I'm the girl. We the same, yeah. Oh, we're tripping off of petty little things, baby. Oh, you're spinning off emotions when you know that it ain't on you.
I'm the true champion, and they make me the underdog. I'm gonna show them all they're wrong because I'm the champion. I'm the real champion. There'll never be one like me.
Quit trying to tell me something.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the NWA Cane Corsos show, where we talk all things dogs. Glad everybody's back. I know you stuck with that turkey, and I hope you guys are having safe travels back home, when and whenever you do it or whatnot. In the description, any pet needs, pet products, breeder products, eternal animal, check the description. Like, share, subscribe, become a member. $4.99. You'll see some clips and things before everybody else see it, and it helps support the channel. I work for a living. I need help paying for editing. So let's go, y'all. First up in the house, we got our brother Tony Clay's back for another one. What's up, Tony?
World, how's it going, man? What up, brother?
Man, good. Holiday good?
Yeah, fantastic, man. Ate too much. I'm still sleeping some of that food off, man.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, Tony, Northstar Kennels, Akron, Ohio. If you didn't know, now you know. We just did a show with him as well. Check it out. It's up in the podcast playlist. Yes, sir. All right. The lady of the hour, Miss Jamie.
Hey guys.
Let's go.
How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
All is well. Yes, ma'am. We're glad to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yes, ma'am. I asked Tony to help with this one, because like I always say, I want to give y'all the best show possible. There's no way for me to know all things dog, even though we talk all things dog. And this is a special combination here because they know each other really, really well. Welcome to the show, Miss Jamie Sweet.
Thank you so very much.
Yes. Tony, you want to pop it off?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
So when I was on, what was it, last week, bro? Something like that. Your name came up, Jamie, and as soon as I said your name, I'm like, man, she would be someone that would be really good to have on here, man. Just because I feel like you're such a genuine dog person, man. So I guess my first question is probably what most people's first question for you is going to be. What made you want to create your own breed?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Well, what made me want to do it was, I was born into dogs. So it was, my whole life has been dogs. And my dad showed dogs and things too. So, I probably had a life different than a lot of people that just had a family dog, We had litters and we had stuff going on all the time. And so then, of course, when I got married and got, my own house and all that, I was going to do dogs too. And so I did that. And my husband and I have been married 40 years. So that's how long, we've been doing it. But I don't know how long it's been, like 27 years ago or whatever, is when I wanted to do Shorty Bulls. And that's when I made my own breed. But before that, we had lots of American bulldogs. And then I saw an oldie one day driving, didn't really know what it was, but I drove past this bulldog. And I mean, it was one of those times when you had to, about rip the transmission out of the car because you saw something, you got to turn around and go back. And it was in those days, it was safe to go knock on the door and say, hey, that's a really cool dog. Tell me about your dog. I did that. They said it's an oldie. And so then I was on the oldie thing. And okay, so I saw those. I had the Americans. I always have had English my whole life. My parents raised them. And, I've always had, a few little English. I just love the breed. I love them. So then I got it in my head, I was going to make oldies. And so I didn't know how that all worked. So I started making calls to the registries because I didn't want to do it and be doing something that, it's going to be looked down upon or whatever. And I realized after I talked to him, I just want to try this. If it works, great, And I showed them the dogs I'd be working with and all that jazz. And they said, yeah, go ahead and try it. So I did. And it turned out really great. And so that's when I really started crossing dogs real hard. And I learned a lot from that. But after that, I wanted to make a smaller, version that was easy for me to drag around everywhere. But I wanted to be active. I wanted to fit my lifestyle. I wanted to have a longer lifespan, all these things I was going to do. And at that time, I was pretty invincible in my head. And so I started that. And then before you knew it, I had 3 breeds of dogs. And, that's a lot to be good at, is 3 breeds. And I got hit in the knee one time by the American Bulldogs, like for the last time, really pissed me off, really hurt, but they play so hard and they're so big and, and that's when I decided, okay, something's got to give here. And so that's when I phased out. And then when I started the shorties, I was just doing it for me to just see if I could do it. I just wanted to mess around and, and it worked and I loved it. And it turned out to be just like I wanted. Like I really wanted the Shorty Bull because of its little size, but, because it still had a little gritty attitude and, still had a lot of bulldog in it. And so it really worked. And then I got on that and it's the most fun I've ever had in breeding. It's the most challenging thing. And it was just, the timing was right and it was great. And I loved it and I still love it. So,
right.
One thing just led to another and,
right.
And the thing is I had the space to do it and I had the kennel and, that, and I had the vet. So that's what really made it, without those 3 things, it wouldn't have worked, because it takes a lot of space. It takes a lot of dogs and
take a lot of dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of dogs. And I was really, once I set my mind to that, I was all in,
Right. You okay, the foundation dog selection. I want to go a little bit deeper into the recipe.
Okay.
You said the recipe is not a secret, correct? But the
yes,
secret
that's right.
The secret is in the individual foundation dogs use.
Yeah, it's not even a secret. If you can find the right stuff,
right.
But it's kind of hard to find the right stuff because, you don't know what the right stuff is until you've done dogs for a while.
Right.
Then you know what you want, what you don't want. You've had a few dogs of that breed, so you understand that individual breed,
Right.
Like some people think, like all English bulldogs are slugs. That's not true. All greyhounds run. Not true. That's the general, temperament of the dog. That doesn't mean they all fit it. It's just like conformation. We want some angulation in the hind legs. It doesn't mean all the dogs of that breed have it. And so, that's why you have to be choosy about your decisions. If you want a working dog, there's a certain puppy you're going to pick that's going to set itself apart as this one's going to probably make a working dog. This one over here, probably not, And so it's just like that with, with everything, with the breeds and all that. And so there were different things I wanted from each breed. And as far as the recipe, let me start on that. As far as the recipe goes, I'll tell you this. It's not you breed dog A to dog B, and then when you get the pup from that, you go to dog C, and then voila, it's done. It's I didn't do it that way. I don't know how everybody else does it. Not how I did it, because, I mean, that sounds good in theory, but, you know, all dogs don't throw the same things. So, you know, it's probably not gonna work for you if you just do the same thing all the time. But yet there's other parts you need to, you know, kind of do the same on both sides, you know, if consistency is your goal later on. And that's always my goal. My first goal is to get it how I want it. My second goal is to reproduce that a lot of times, you know, reproduce it without losing it. That juggle's hard, you know.
Gotcha.
And when you mix breeds, there's certain breeds that, you know, their traits and stuff, they just override the other things. Like, you know, the pit bull versus the English bulldog. I love to use this for an example. Okay, the pit bull to me is like the ultimate dog. I mean, what can a pit bull do? It can do everything. It can go without water for days and live. It can have its puppies in the freezing cold. They are all going to live. It can be, you know, it's probably going to live into its teens and have an active life. There's just a lot of good things about a pit bull. But the thing is, it's a lot of dog for a lot of people. So, you know, but I think that's probably one of the most natural forms of a dog, as a dog was intended, you know. Then we have the English bulldog. The English bulldog is our creation. That's selective breeding at the hilt, you know. We selectively bred to make this dog with this great big head in proportion to its body, and, you know, short legs, broad chest, center gravity's down low. I mean, there's so many differences between the two. But the English bulldog's been around a long time as well, you know. It's one of the first breeds the AKC registered. So when you combine those two, I had to prove this to myself. When you combine those two, I thought maybe, you know, I'd get a litter that looked pretty Englishy. You know, and I tried that a few times, and no, I sure did not, you know. Sure didn't get any English traits on them, even though they were half English. You know, the terrier is so dominant. It's so strong.
So were those, I don't want to cut you off, Jamie, but were those some of the first crosses that you did as like the foundation? Like, was it for those?
Yeah, I did.
A lot of people.
I did
like
some, and they weren't the look I wanted at all. Okay, the look was wrong for me, but you know, I was trying to get from the terrier. I was trying to get some longevity. Okay. You know, I want him to have a good long life, so you could like grow it up with a kid. You know, like.
Right.
I just think that's important. You know, or you know, it takes about 3 years to get your dog like you want it. You know, so you really understand each other. Then I want that to last for about, you know, quite a while. Right. Before it becomes older, slowing down, you know. So I was trying to add life to them, which I did. You know, Shorty Bulls have a good 12 years, and that's 10 active years, and then they slow down a little bit, you know. But I mean, that's pretty long. I don't need it longer than that.
That's a good lifespan.
That is a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, the terriers. I mean, I hardly changed anything. Of course, I changed stuff, but you know, you could barely tell. You know, the temperament was pit bull. You know, the way they acted, the way they looked, there wasn't that much change with the first cross. You know, all had long tails, all that jazz. And so, you know, and then I take those and I try to, you know, cross them to something else, and I wasn't getting too far, but you know, it was slow. But that was teaching, you know, that was teaching me how to use this to get what I wanted, you know, and to be real serious about it. Like, the temperament was great, you know, their activity level was great, but the look was too terrier. And so, you know, my answer almost always is an English bulldog. And I know that's not the case today, but I had some really unique English bulldogs, I guess. I mean, I had English bulldogs that just weren't the norm. They weren't sluggish. They weren't, you know, they weren't wrinkles all over. Now, they had wrinkles, don't get me wrong. They had the proportion. That's really what I wanted, was that proportion, you know. I like that squareness. I like the big head part. And that stuff will pass on, you know. But I wanted the muzzle to be short, but not, you know, smashed up into their head.
Right.
And so, yeah, so it took me a little while to figure that out. And I finally, you know, got it pretty close enough to start there, you know. And so then I built my outcross line the same time because I knew from breeding priorly, I knew, okay, what am I going to outcross to, you know, when I was just the one doing it. So, yeah. So that means there's a lot of dogs. Yeah.
So how many generations in were you before you really had the look? Like you really like started looking at the dogs and were like, okay.
I don't really know how many generations because I do things differently. I don't care how many generations. Okay. It's just when you get the look, you got the look. And when you lose the look, you lost the look. Like, I don't care if it's 50 generations. If you lost the look, it don't matter how many gens because it's gone. So I don't know. I go back and figure it up, but I just don't because that's just not important to me. What's important to me is does it look and act like. But I had them probably about, I don't know. I had probably 2.5 years of messing around, and then I got it. But I'd done so many breedings before, you know. So I got this little dog called Big Ben.
Was there one particular dog that when that dog came, it all changed?
Yeah. His name was Big Ben. He was black and he was beautiful. And I sent him to my good friend Terry at Hard Knock Bullies. He went right to California. Okay. And, you know, that was good for me. And I liked that because, you know, I thought if we get these dogs out to California, you know, it'll be great. Yeah. You know, people will see them, you know, and it'll be different than, you know, trying to do something here in Kansas where it's so agricultural, you know. I mean, it's just different in Cali. So he had the first one and and it was great. And he helped me a lot, you know, and then I'd take puppies out there and so then came Hef. And Hef was when we said, okay, we got it. This is it. This is what I want. This is everything I want. I had Hef and Magic and Saber and in the same litter. And that was Hef probably, you know, he probably lit it up real good because he was cream. Okay. And he was real pretty too. Yeah.
Jamie, let me ask you this. When you had the vision for this dog, this would be good for people who deal with this dog. What 3 traits does the Shorty Bull must have? What were you breeding for on that aspect?
Well, I wanted it to be short and bully. Okay, Shorty Bull. So I wanted short and bully. I set the standard at 15 inches, not over. You couldn't go over that. But I didn't want a 15-inch dog. Really want about a 13-inch, but I thought I'll say 15 because, you know, it gives me 2 inches to play with. And I mean, when you really get to measuring dogs and stuff, you know, you can't pin yourself in right away. You got to kind of work to that. It's going to, you know, depending on what you use. But in my shorties, I didn't use any dogs that were over the standard, hoping to keep it low and compact. But yeah, I want them short, bully, a specific temperament that they have where, you know, they're like, I don't know how else to say it. They're too dumb to be scared of things, you know? Now, don't nobody get offended at that. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Because, you know, they're willing to try things over and over, and it's not so easy to break their mind, you know. If they do get in trouble and you pick them up, they're easy to redirect. And I really like that, you know. That was one of the things that was important. But most of the people that have a Shorty Bull that have had other dogs, they say, no, what'd you put in here? This, you know, this temperament, this personality is, you know, different than anything else I had. And it is different. And I don't know exactly how it got to be just part of this and part of this and part of this, but it did. And so, you know, there's some quirky things about them too, you know. If you spoil a Shorty Bull, and I mean, if you never have limits for it and it gets to do what it wants, you're probably going to have a little tyrant of a dog because they catch on to that real quickly. But if they have a routine, they're wonderful, you know. But they need that routine, you know, and they need limits and they need boundaries like any dog. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but you know, they're small and they're cute when you get them as puppies. They're only this big, like little bitty machines. And so it's easy to, you know, let them get away with everything. But I tell people don't do that because, you know, that's what you're going to be looking at when it's an adult and it's not cute anymore. You know, the cute wears off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I saw the documentary on you, right?
Yeah,
And that was about what 4 years ago, I believe, 4 or 5
I
years.
think so. Yeah, it seems like forever ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and we was talking. You said, "Golly, it's 4 years already." You said
No.
so much more has happened since
Oh
then.
yeah, yeah.
Like
You know,
what?
it's crazy when you're working with, that amount of dogs. And I always had about 40 or 42 dogs. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, when you decide to focus on something and you're going to flip a yard, I'm just going to say it like that. Flip a yard. Okay. We're going bullier. We want a bullier. And then you stay on that for a year and everything you breed is to that goal. You can change things. Things can change really quickly. It's harder when you have 2 dogs and maybe 2 breedings a year. That takes forever to really change something, to see a change, and so in order to keep up, it just made more sense. And, I don't think I'd want to have more than that by myself, but yeah, I could change. And what I did was, I have the same standard in mind that I always did. I knew it was going to take a long time to get, I knew it was going to take a long time to get a real solid consistency. And when I say solid, I mean, I could go buy a beagle out of the newspaper and I could pick one up down the road and I could breed those together, not even know anything. And I'd get beagles, they probably wouldn't be the best, but they'd be decent beagles. That type is set, there's a lot of breeds like that. And so, people ask me all the time, when's a breed a breed? Well, I think it's a breed when, you can breed it like beagles and, an idiot can get 2 out of the newspaper, breed them and get it to like the breed. It's not going to be perfect, but, not too bad. I think that would be I think that'd be great. That would give us a lot of options to work with. But today we don't think that way really a lot of times or even think about it at all.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so it takes a while. And I think the longer you do dogs, the more you see in dogs when you just watch the dogs and you see, like, you can tell me, I don't know, something about that dog. I don't like its face. Well, what don't you like about its face? I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Okay. But you gotta take all those parts. You got to go through all those parts and figure out what it is you don't like. Are the eyes in the wrong place on its face? Because that'll make it look a different way. Are its ears up too high or down low or standing up? I mean, all those things go into the facial expression of a dog.
Mhm.
And so and then it's like that with the whole dog. You have to find the little part that you're trying to fix, You can't just blindly think, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to go to this popular stud and, you might sell all the puppies, sure, but you may not fix it. And so that's that, I like to take a dog apart in pieces and, just watch and look and, observe and then match it up with the right dog. Not the popular dog or, whatever, wherever it is. It may be the popular dog, but I like to match up to get, I want to meet that goal and I never change my mind. And so in those 4 years, I was pretty far along in my program, but in those 4 years, I really had some major tweaks that brought the consistency. And I was just overjoyed with that,
Right.
because I could pretty much, just know already what they were going to be, and be right most of the time.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
When you two meet?
I don't know, Tony.
I've known, like, we've had conversations, but I actually think the very first time that we met, shook hands, was at the Beast. Was it at the Beast 2 years ago?
Probably. Yeah, it was. I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. At the very first time that we actually, like, physically
that's right.
was at the Beast. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yes, the Beast. That was a good time.
It was a good time this year too, man. I thought
Yes, it was.
Thought they did.
Got to see a lot of dogs, and I think that's important. I think that's really important today that people get out and see other dogs. And in the ring, we're comparing the dogs in the ring to the standard, but outside the ring, that's for you to compare to your peers or whoever shows up, or just see where you stand in the whole mix of stuff. Because if you really have aspirations and goals of making better dogs, man, get out there and see what
I can see.
it looks like, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, man.
Yeah, that's fun.
Right. Well, will you be in that show in Arkansas coming up with Cole House?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I get to meet both of y'all.
Yes.
I'll be there for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Jamie,
okay.
Isn't John judging that show with you?
Yeah, you get to meet my son too, my crazy son. Oh gosh, yeah, he's a bulldogger too.
Yeah, that show gonna be nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. Tony, if you got anything, I can go. I can wait on you. Whatever, however you want to do it.
So, when I first heard about the Shorty Bull, I recall kind of digging into it and realizing that there was a bit of a difference between what's the two different registries with the Shorty Bull, and kind of explain the difference in, I guess, look, type, whatever.
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
The original one was the one I started, and it's the Bull Breed Coalition.
Okay.
And at that time there wasn't all these registries. There was just the main registries, and so I didn't have. I knew that I needed to have a registry, because my dog was going to be looked at like I was just a mutt, just a mixed breed, whatever. Which, okay. So I got a cattle program, a ranch program, because they didn't have anything then. And so I got with them, and they, helped us make it into a dog registry. And so I started that, and I had the standard written and that, right at the same time. Okay. And then after, and Amy Krogman's the other lady that did that, we were both in an obedience class together with dogs. And I said, hey, you want to do this with me? This is going to be fun. Blah, blah, blah. Her and I had a lot of fun together. And so she said, yeah, sure. So, okay. I said, this is what I'm shooting for. And we talked about it every day and every night, and, but she had her dogs. I had my dogs. And so, that was two different lines that you just got started right off jump, which was good. But in time, they really took on a different look and a look of their own. And I don't know how many years in, but then she started the Bull Breed Coalition Registry, which, was kind of like wish we would have named it something different, but because everything was getting mixed up, because I'm Blue River and my name was Jamie. We live in the same little town in Kansas. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she is Blue Rock and her name's Amy. We sound the same. We look like sisters. We're both from this little town doing this crazy stuff. Anyway, people got us mixed up constantly, continually. The registries were named that close together. Got those mixed up all the time, so it was really confusing there for a while. But, in time, it ruined a friendship, and I hate that it did. I mean, we still talk and have respect for each other, but, when you do business like this, and it's, we should have just stayed going shopping and then doing that stuff. We shouldn't have tried to, have this dog breed and then have different, different ideas, opinions, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, it is what it is. And this is the anniversary of, it's funny, we're doing this on Black Friday because we split up, and then it was Black Friday about 3 years after that. And we were both going for the genie bras at Walmart, crashed our cars together. Came around the corner, crashed our cars together. It was like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah. Then we decided to merge together again because the exotics were coming out, and and we were like, whoa, man, what are we gonna do? The exotics gonna eat us up, And so we decided to merge it together. That it would probably be better. She had a better program than I did, and I thought that was gonna be great. So, man, we merged together. We were together like 5 months, and it just does not work, man. All the people were mad. It was a disaster. The ideas were different, the looks are totally different. I like a bullier dog. Yeah. I want it to be bully and muscular, but I want it to be able to still do stuff, I wanted to have that function. I'm a stickler on conformation.
Yeah, I noticed that your dogs are looks very athletic. I see him doing a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah. I want to be athletic, you know. I just don't want people to get confused and think it's a working dog, because it's not. You know, it's a little fun thing. It's a little toy to have. I have a lot of people get confused on that, you know.
Right.
But when you really work dogs, of course, you never get confused on it. But you know, if it's new, sometimes you do. And you know, Shorty Bulls are great. They can do a lot of things for a little short amount of time, but they're never going to stop a man or anything. But they're great to, you know, tell you somebody's at the door, and you know, and they're good at activities. I mean, I went crazy on that. I was proving to the world that this little dog could do all this amazing stuff. And, you know, I thought that was going to make a real big difference, because at that time I didn't want him to be called a designer dog, because I thought that was just a disgraceful term, you know, like a designer dog. I mean, look at all the stuff this can do. This isn't a designer dog. I mean, so I took offense to the term designer dog, you know, and so I was, you know, I did everything with him. Everything. We even did the iron dog, and I rode the bike, and the dog ran the 12 miles, man. That was Moby Dick. And then we did the rest of the little pentathlon thing, and it was, and that was pretty amazing. It was fun, you know. But, I mean, who's going to run 12 miles with a dog these days? You know, that's kind of overkill. but I proved it, you know, so.
You kind of mentioned the exotics. What impact, how big of an impact do you think you had, did the Shorty Bull have on
well, I'll tell you what, when, you know, I was here before exotics, way before pockets, before all that stuff, okay? And I was doing my thing, and you know, Rampage was a big deal, and LoJack was a big deal, and if you look at them, you know, you see the similarities, and so then, you know, here comes some pockets. They were pretty cool. And then Larry with his dog Success, and you know, remember those little dogs, little bullies? You know, they were short, they were cool, but
was it the Brahma Bulls?
No, they were later. And the exotics, you know, and man, just like I told Amy, the exotics are gonna eat us up, man. That's good. The end of the road, man. We're just gonna be nothing. The exotics are coming, you know. And I knew from jump they were never going away. I knew from the minute I knew it, they were never going to go away, that there was only going to get more and more of them, because it's just going to get bullier, you know. I mean, that's how this all got started, was, you know, the bullies were too bully, and it's just going to get bullier. Everything's going to get bullier until it wrecks, and then maybe we'll get back to the middle ground, you know. So, and I already did all that. See, I was already past that little idea of let's make a bullier. Bullier. I already screwed him up that way one time, you know, long before Shorty Bulls. But I knew exotics were coming away, and I knew this. We're two old ladies in Kansas. Now, what are we going to have against the exotics, man? We're just going to get run over, you know, really. I already knew that. I knew the young, you know, if we wanted this thing to go like I wanted it to go, then it'd have to be young guys. And there's so many, and there was such an active community, and, you know, things are just happening all the time over there. And, you know, after I did Shorty Bulls, you know, I went to my first ABKC show, which was that was a head spinner for me. I've never, ever been to anything like that.
Are they registered with ABKC also?
Yeah, well, how it works is you got to have your Bull Breed Coalition papers. You got to have those BBC papers, because that's your certificate of authenticity. And so through all the years, I've spoken to all the registries, because, you know, people want to show them and whatnot. And so you have to have that. So if you want to register with ABKC, you certainly can. Take your registration papers. They need a copy of that, and then you can dual register. And that's like that with all the rest of the registries, but you got to have that golden ticket of authenticity, you know.
Kind of like ICCF is to AKC with the course.
Yeah, you got to have that. I mean, it's, you know, it's what keeps it. I mean, it's real important to keep a breed in check, you know, and to keep it in line so it doesn't, you know, just fade away before, you know, we even get where we're going, you know.
Before we got on, mine, Joe had asked you a question.
Yeah.
You would ever be interested in the Shorty Bull going AKC, and you had a really interesting response. So I'm gonna ask you a question online. Would you ever be interested in that?
Well, I thought I was interested in that, and you know, the grass always looks greener, you know, over there and stuff, and you know, and I've been around AKC breeds my whole life, and you know, there's good and there's bad about it, but it was my own selfish little thing, and I thought, you know, if this went AKC, I mean, that would mean I really made a real breed. It was a real deal, real thing. It was just selfish because it would just be, nobody else would care but me, you know? And I mean, you want me to tell this whole long story? This is long.
Hey,
but anyway.
Go ahead.
Oh, geez. I'll just give you the short version. Anyway, my friend Jose calls and he wants to go to Westminster. So John's little boy Strat was just little, 4 or 5 years old. And so we go to Westminster. And, you know, if you've ever been to that dog show, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. And there's just people everywhere. There's big screens. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And John and Jose were arguing about what breed was on the bench with the curtain over it and the fan blowing on it. And I thought, oh, God, I'm not going to listen to this, you know, for 20 more minutes. So I see Find Your Breed, Find Your Breeder. And it's a big booth. And there was just lines of people, you know, in it. And I thought, I'm going to go see if they've ever heard of Shorty Bull, you know? So I wait my turn. I get up there and I ask the guy, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a Shorty Bull. And he's like, a Shorty Bull? I said, yeah. And he's like, okay. So he's looking through his papers. He says, you sure it's AKC breed? I said, oh, it's got to be. Oh, it's the coolest dog I ever see. I'm just, you know, going on and on. He's like, I don't think we have it. So he leans over to his buddy and he says, hey, Dan, you heard of a Shorty Bull? Dan's like, not trying to get fired or anything. Dan's like, no, just keeps on working. And he said, are you sure you're not thinking of a Frenchie or something? I said, no, I'm not thinking of that. You know, and he said, well, I just don't think, you know, and I'm describing it more. And so his secretary walks by. So he says, hey, Vanessa, you heard of a Shorty Bull ever? And thank God for Vanessa, because she says, oh my God, yes, I have. Said, I got pictures right here. Whips her phone up. There's a friend with Shorty Bull pictures. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, he looks at it and he says, well, that's a good looking little dog. He said, I'm sure you can find that somewhere. I said, I couldn't, you know, and I'm still thinking, oh God, he's going to know, you know? So pretty soon he says, let me just look real quick. So he puts it in Google and I said, okay, all right. Now listen, I got to tell you something. I do know where they are. I do. I made them. You guys won't ever talk to me. I've talked to the Foundation Stock Service, you know, blah, blah, blah. So he said, well, do you know who you're talking to? And I said, no. And he said, well, I'm the chief registrar for the AKC. And I about fell over. And so he said, we have to talk after Westminster. And so, you know, after their big show was over and stuff, we got to talking and really, you know, I'm still alive and it's still, you know, my breed and I'm so accountable for it. But I just think it would be too easy for every little, I don't know, it'd just be too easy to breed and sell to pet stores or something, you know, and they're just not cut out for that. I don't want that for them, you know, and there's so much opportunity in our crazy community, man. I'm picking this community all day, every day, because it's, you know, there's always something going on. Always. There's just so much more opportunity over here. I know we're a little bit crazy, but I'll take that. Versus, you know, we can have no say over the AKC. Not that I even need a whole bunch of say, but man, I don't want to see them, you know, on every street corner. They're supposed to be special.
They got to be tough, you know, being the mother of a breed, which is going to lead into my next question is, what are the biggest mistakes you see people, breeders specifically, making in a specific
Well, it really is hard to be the mother of a breed, and you love it too at the same time. So you're really torn. Like, I want to coach everybody just like you do your kids. You don't want your kid to be an idiot out there.
Right.
You know, I mean, sometimes you got to pull them back and say, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. Do this. But you know, people don't want to hear that. And, you know, do I think I'm superior? Well, hell yes, I do. I mean, I just do. And I'm not, we got to start talking about that stuff.
Right.
You know, I did this for so long. I got a whole lifetime in it. I'm 62. That's a lot of years. I mean, and I am counting from back, you know, my mom's got the picture proof. You know, I was sending the whelping box, rubbing puppies, hooking them up, you know. Yeah, just a little kid, but my whole life has been this. And so nobody was around when I started these Shorty Bulls, you know. So I'm good. I'm good. We made it this far, and I'm tickled to death. With that, do they all look the same? Nope, they don't. The shows have about killed us because, you know, they're going to pick a dog, even though if it's not the best dog, and we're a secondary breed to a lot of these registries. So really, how much, you know, I mean, come on. They're not going to spend their time studying about Shorty Bulls, you know, and then that gets to be an issue sometimes. But, you know, I feel like if I'm the only one that does this right, then it's not very much of a success. I want everybody to do it right. I want everybody to get good dogs. I might have to use one of your dogs if you get them good enough, you know? I mean, really, I think my mindset on it is a lot different than, you know, a new guy. And, you know, I don't know. I hate to tell everybody what to do, but man, I'm really bossy. But it's because I care about this breed, you know? It's so cool. I don't think it's hit its peak yet. I think it's still coming. I think we could go a long ways still. I mean, we're just getting warmed up. I feel now other people feel like, oh my God, we've already done all this, but no, we're just getting warmed up, you know? And a lot of times in this dog community, we get the cart way ahead of the horse. And, you know, it's just silly to do that. That just makes you have to do things over, you know, and this stuff takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of dogs, and you can't change your mind every time somebody else wins or something new comes out. Mm-hmm. You know, your breed may go out of style. Then what? Better make sure you like it. And I love Shorty Bulls, so I don't care if it goes out of style. I'm still happy. That's my breed. I love them. They're perfect for me. They're built, you know, to fit my lifestyle, and I'm happy that other people like them. You know, you can't have a breed by yourself either, really. You know, you need other people. But I think that's one of our biggest problems in the dog world today is we've got too many, you know, people that think they're on the same level, and we're just not. We're just not. Never going to be. It's never going to be fair. I mean, so we got to go back to that order, and, you know, some things need to be earned through doing it. You know, we can talk about it all day. That doesn't mean you're going to go out and do it right. You know, this is like an apprenticeship. It should be, you know, of a skill, of a craftsman. Breeding dogs is like that. You know, I mean, can you carve wood? Well, I can't. I know that. I'm going to cut myself before I get something carved. So why would I think I'm just going to go out and be the same as the guy who can just, you know, carve things? But you need a set of skills like that. And you need to put in the time to know why it's that way, not just get the answer. And a lot of times I think we just want the answer, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to be the one who started it. And then, you know, people are like, oh, why don't you compete? Why don't you do this? Well, because it feels weird, for one thing. I mean, you know, of course I know what a good dog looks like. Kind of have an idea of that. Of course I know what I want the breed to look like. You know, your head's on a different level when you do this, and, you know, and then other people have it, just a different level. And I think that if it's not understood, you know, it's probably because, you know, you haven't had enough dogs. When you have enough dogs, you understand a whole bunch of stuff, don't you? Differently than what you thought before you had all those dogs. You know, I mean, how many times have you thought something sounds like a great idea until you're in the middle of it, and then you're like, oh, this doesn't work at all. You know, it's not at all what I thought.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. She created the breed. She put all the ingredients. Some things didn't work. Maybe a lot of things didn't work. Go this route. and some of the stuff she might see you doing, like, it ain't gonna work. I already did it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and the other thing is I used a bunch of scraps that I already had laying around that weren't good for anything else. That's where a lot of people start off just wrong. You know? I mean, if you got a Cocker Spaniel and a Poodle and neither one of them's worth a damn good enough to sell, I suppose you bring them together and make a cockapoo. But that's not how everybody does it, you know? Mm-hmm. I started out with, I had to go hunt for the English Bulldogs I wanted, you know, because they're not going to be the same English Bulldogs that would win in the conformation ring if you're judging by the standard, because I wanted something different. And this is where it gets a little confusing, but, you know, I don't want to rise over the loins. It's real big. I don't want that. I want my top line to be level, you know, because this is about a look for me too. I mean, people can crucify me if that's wrong for loving a look. I love a look, man. That's the first thing that attracts anybody, you know, to a breed is that look for most people. Uh-huh. So I wanted that look. And then I didn't want to have a dog that was non-functional. That would just be like a disgrace to my whole family. You know, we always have had functional dogs and working dogs and that. So, you know, my dad was always concerned that I'd lose all the drive, you know, and I was so worried about that. I got too much drive in him in the beginning because I was afraid I was going to lose it, you know. And so I had to learn how to tone that down, you know, because the regular person does not need, nor do they want. I don't care what they tell you. They might think they want that. Don't be the first one to let them know that's probably not what they want in a dog, because it comes right back to you, you know, halfway screwed up, you know, but you sent out too much drive, you know. And I suppose to the working people here listening tonight, you know, that sounds a little, is there such a thing as too much drive? But, you know, for these little dogs, yeah, there is. They got to have, you know, got to have good on-off switches. You know, they can't be wild and woolly in the house and all that jazz, you know, and they attach to you so hard. But anyway, that's another whole story. But yeah, it's hard to be both, because you have to be proven all the time, and you have to, you know, you want good examples to show, and then people are like, show me the perfect one. Okay, well, there's not one perfect one. You know, if there's anything you learn from tonight, learn there's not one perfect dog for everything. There's not. There should be a group of good dogs. You know, that's what a breed is, a group, a population of good dogs.
That's right.
Of good dogs. And then once in a while, you know, you get a great, but you have to have a lot of good dogs, and they're not going to all look exactly alike, or we wouldn't have bloodlines. You know, bloodlines, that's, you know, a bloodline's recognizable, you know? And so, you know, we talk about the consistency, but it doesn't mean identical. You know, we're not going to make that dog that's a cartoon drawing or a rendering or whatever, the little sketch that, you know, that's a general idea. We want to look close to like that. But, you know, consistency is not the same thing as identical, and we're never going to have these identical, but we can reach consistency, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And that was always super important to me.
Yeah, good point. I think people get that confused a lot.
Yeah.
Let me, Sykes said here, what's up, brother Sykes? Boy, that brother got some good news today. I can't wait till he share it with y'all, boy. I don't know. Woo, he got some good news.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, now they use shorties to clean up exotics. Is that true?
Yes. Well, all right, I'm going to tell you something here now. How can I be mad at that? I mean, that's what I did. That's what I did when I used you know, every new breed, I don't care what it is, you are using some old breeds to make that baby. That's just how it is. That's something that doesn't kind of compute in people's mind till you tell them. But yeah, and you know what else it does? It puts a little fear. Some people are threatened by that. So, oh, you're using my breed? Oh, you're screwing up all the Frenchies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that call. And I said, you know, I'm not calling them Frenchies. I'm using the Frenchie, but out of respect, you know, for the breeds I used, and it's self-respect to me. I didn't call them XL Frenchies or working Frenchies, or I didn't do any of that. I gave them a whole new name. I gave them a whole new standard, because I did change it. So it's not the same as that. I changed it, but I changed it all the way. I knew they might not have papers. I didn't care about that. You know, I mean, nobody governs what you can do on your yard. Do whatever you want. Where you get governed is the registries. You know, they can tell you, I'm not paper, you know, it's not legitimate. So you're not, you know, not here. It's not legitimate. So, you know, that's why I had to start my own registry and, you know, all that stuff. Now today, you know, just hang that shit. No, I don't know. No, but a lot of people do, you know, because that's where the scary part comes in. May not sell them if they don't have papers, but that wasn't why I was doing it. It wasn't, you know, I was going to make this cool little dog, and that's what I did. And if exotics are using them to clean up, and you know they are, and I know they are too, that's fine. I mean, just use a good one, man. You'll get farther faster using a good one, you know? And I knew the exotic guys when that started, and I said it wasn't going to quit, you know? I didn't put bully into the Shorty Bulls. I didn't put American Bully in there because it was the wrong direction for me to go, you know? What was that going to add to what I was doing? It wasn't. It was bigger than, you know, it was very popular though, but it wasn't going to add to what I wanted to do. So I didn't put the bully in there. And, you know, I think that's a good thing. Kind of separates the two. But, you know, when you do start a new breed, you're going to see similarities to the breeds you used. You can't get around that. And there needs to be differences. For you to be a real breed, you know, it needs to be more than just 2 breeds. It has to be 3 or more breeds. And you have to have, you know, like I say, it can have the similarities, but it has to have a unique difference, you know, somewhere in its type to be a breed, you know. So we've got that, you know, and a lot of people say, oh, it's just a Frenchie with cropped ears. Well, you probably need to see more Frenchies and more Shorties because it's definitely a lot more than that. Some people think they look like English bulldogs. I don't know where the English bulldogs are that look like that, but maybe somewhere. But maybe they all also need to just see more dogs. And that's, you know, every day on the internet, people are giving their opinions on dogs they've never, ever seen in the flesh, had hands on, anything. But their opinions are there. And so, you know, we need not forget that. We need not forget that when we are discussing dogs. Like, man, I've seen it. But have you? It's another reason people need to get to the shows, you know, because they're all big talking, never seen the dog. You know, never seen a dog of that breed, but yet here they are.
Yeah. That's one thing I learned podcasting. You hear bam, bam, bam. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to the yard while you talking down on this man dogs? It goes silent. Have you ever been to a yard?
A yard, yes. You got 10 productions yet. And do we know one of them? I mean, really?
Yeah.
You know, this old dog tied in the backyard that's just the best dog ever, and he's in the backyard. I mean, I haven't seen too many of those either. You know?
Right.
So if you got that dog, I mean, let's get out here and let's look at dogs and put hands on them, because I promise you they're different. You know?
Right. Before we move on, I'll get maybe 2 or 3 questions in so we can get out of here. But as far as where do you visualize the breed globally? What can you give me any kind of stats on, like, the Shorties getting like bam, bam?
Well, I was really into overseas shipping years ago, and then I got so pissed I just quit because it's just such a hassle.
Yeah.
They're in several countries already, and you know, this is just my opinion. That happened with Shorty Bulls. What happens? People get really excited. They get one. Okay. And then it's time to breed that dog. And it's a pain to get another one. You know, it's a pain to ship the semen, whatever. So that gets bred to something that maybe wasn't the best choice. And it's just hard to keep up when there's just a few in another country. So, you know, now it's harder than ever to do that. Or it's a lot harder than it used to be, you know. I used to ship them overseas a lot or take them myself, but I don't anymore. So, you know, if they are in another country, I hope they can get like 3 or 4 people to get together that want one, and, you know, maybe start a little a little club or something, so they do have opportunities to, build the best dogs, because if not, they're going to be behind all the time anyway. So if anybody's going to import a dog, it's going to take more than one, first of all, of any breed, So just, but are they they're in a lot of countries. And I'm not the only one that's shipped them overseas at all. There's plenty of other people too, and they still do. But a lot of people came over to get them. That was a huge undertaking. The people from Sweden came over to get their dogs, and we got home from the airport at like 3:00 in the morning, and my brother was gone, so we had to check his sheep. His sheep were whelping, or whatever sheep do, when they have their babies, lambing. So, it's 3 a.m. They're anxious to go look at dogs. The kennel's right by, where the sheep are. So we go out there, and I say, let's just check the lambs. Oh my God, there's like three lambs having babies, right at that minute. And I said, oh my gosh, I got to help this. And come to find out, the lady from Sweden, that's what she did in Sweden, was deliver lambs. So I got really lucky. But, when people come over from other countries and stuff like that, it's kind of a major thing to get a dog back nowadays. Now it is. Right. Before it wasn't near the hoops we have to jump through as we do now.
Yeah. I got another question.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around a long time in dogs, and you've seen a bunch of things in dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in saying that in today's time, it's a lot more creation of types of dogs now? People trying to maybe not even make breeds, but I see a lot of people call everything a band dog now. You know what I mean? It might not be the specific term.
I definitely know they're not trying to make breeds, okay?
Yeah.
Because if they're trying to make breeds, they wouldn't be taking a poll on it before they bought their first 2 dogs to get it started, okay? Yeah. On Facebook or wherever, I mean, there's a lot of talking, but that when you really want to do something, just do it, you just do it. You're not looking for everybody's validation and approval and shit if this is really what you want to do. And, I think that the goals are different. Some people just think if they make something different, it's going to be, popular. Sometimes it is, but, I think today there's just a lot of hurry up and do stuff. Versus back then, but everything's a band dog. That's kind of a two-sided thing. Mm-hmm. A little bit of that's okay, and then in some ways it's not. But maybe it shuffles the gene pool up, and it's good, and you have something that's different that you can use. Maybe somebody's gonna make something, and maybe somebody makes something, and you're gonna see it and be like, oh my God, I would never do that. But now I know I would never do that ever. But it's still. It's still getting papers, but, really, it's nothing like, the thing is, when you're in a situation like that, people are drawn to what they like, okay? And the look they like, or the temperament they like, or the working ability they like. And so, that gives you a little more individuality, because, that's going to be miles apart, the ability of the dogs. Because some guys are just breeding for look, some guys are breeding for working. I think I'd say that wouldn't bother me, I guess. I just have the baddest ass ones. That's what you got to do then. It forces somebody to, have the ones that are sought after. Mm-hmm. Unless we get a bunch of people that can't tell what they're looking at, which is sometimes the case today. It's not that hard to look at dogs and say, this one's bullier, this one's too, this one's too extreme, this one's racy built. Why is that hard? That's, but I run into that a lot with, Shorty Bulls. Like, the ones that are winning sometimes aren't necessarily the ones that I'd want at my place, because they're too streamlined and too clean, and
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it make a bunch of sense. Did you ever think that the breed, when you was creating this breed, that most everybody I talk to, like, it's almost like a reverence for you?
I know.
Deep.
I appreciate that from people.
Like that. She said, "I know."
Yeah, and I never knew that I would be having a bed and breakfast,
Right.
at my house because people wanted to come and see a kennel and see these dogs. I never even had any idea it would be like that, but luckily I did enjoy that, and that was fun. And I think it was fun for people to come to this little bitty town in Kansas that's very historic, like all our streets are still brick, and we are about 40 years behind time here and where I live. So, but they do that, and I appreciate that. But I fought real hard for this breed. A lot of times by myself, I did, and I stood up for everybody. And I'm a fair and just person. I mean, I'm fair and just in my decisions. I don't have special privileges for me that I wouldn't, give to my people. I appreciate so much everybody that invested in this idea of mine. That makes you feel so accountable for everything. It's different than just, breeding a breed of dogs. It's so different. You feel so responsible. You want to huddle everybody up, and then sometimes you want to slap them in the head. Like, what are you doing? And it's because you're so responsible for this breed, and you want everybody to be proud of their dog and have something that's worth talking about, and then you see them sometimes following it's just the wrong thing altogether. They're going to be coming back, and it's just hard. But yeah, it's, I did. I fought for a lot of this, and I picked people up when they were down, and I shook them maybe and said, "Hey, this is what you got to do." And I didn't fill them full of crap, I didn't just talk to be talking, I really did. And I'd done so much. I think my advice was pretty good. I'd never give anybody the wrong advice. Why would I? Why would anybody? But do I know it goes on? Yes, I know it goes on. But just like I say, if I ever compete, man, I want to beat you fair and square. I do want to beat you. Don't get me wrong. I do. I want to take your head off in the ring. That's for real. But I want to get you right up there and, get you the best you can be, and then take your head off. That makes sense. That happened to me a lot growing up.
Right.
But yeah. And I just, I looked out for my people, because it was hard in the beginning when we're Shorty Bulls, and everybody's calling you mutt and this and that. And, you go to a show and they judge you like English Bulldogs this one and Frenchies at that one. And the people are always calling me like, what's going on? Like, I couldn't call and tell them and they were going to listen. But I tried, and I tried through, proving it. And we got to just stay together. And this is what we got to do. Keep to the standard. And it was hard. It was hard. But yeah, we're here. I think that's remarkable.
Right. Okay.
It's hard to stay,
Yeah. We call this a great and mighty walk you have done. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a crazy one. It's for, if you're really crazy, then try this, Yeah. It's it's been the most fun I've had breeding dogs. It's just trying to keep everybody together in a flock that's the hard part. Trying to, you don't want to be the dream crusher, but I know I'm a vibe killer sometimes when I have to say things, but I just, I have to tell you, I wish there was more people that could actually see those differences in order to deliver that message properly. But, it can't be just anybody doing that. It has to be someone can show you examples and can explain why it happened. That's the difference there. And, I read all the time. I'm constantly learning. Still after all this many years, I'm still learning things about dogs, and I love it. I'm fascinated with it. But, a lot of people aren't. And so that's fine. I'll do the reading for you, and I'll do the learning, and I'll give you the short version. I'll still do that for my people. I'm not trying to keep anybody stuck or keep anybody behind. I'm not in competition that way,
Right. Are you still is there still things you're trying to refine or tweak in the breed? You don't have to tell them,
Well, I'm not trying to tweak and refine major things at all. I got my program to where I wanted it. Right. And I never really had to maintain a program where you're not fixing something all the time,
That's true.
like for a long time, I would get close but I was always fixing something. We need to add this. We need to add a little more bone. We need to, change this one's head, certain things like that. And so, sometimes that works and sometimes you think it's going to work and it doesn't at all. But then I finally got my program to where I wanted it in many, many dogs. I still have some tools, of course, but, maintaining it was a whole different thing than, bring to fix something. And so, yeah, I was different, but yeah, I just want to keep it right now, like where it is right now. I love the look. I love the functionality. I love the temperament. I mean, it's what I dreamed of. And so I think we're good right there where where my program is today and some other programs are today.
Yeah. If your father were here, what would you think he'll say about your program? I'm sorry.
Oh, he would probably have a lot to say,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, my dad was, he was my biggest competition. He was my best friend, but man, he could say things, that they just seared you and they stuck with you forever. And so when I was starting this is what he said to me one day. He walks through my kennel and he says, you got 12 males here? I said, yeah. I was all, yes, I do, Dad. I got 12 of them. And he's like, what are you doing with them? I said, what do you mean? What am I doing with them? I mean, I'm keeping them. I'm going to use them. And he said, well, what are you even doing? He said. I said, what do you mean? What am I doing? He said, well, you trying to make something? Are you trying to make some money? I'm like, what? I can't even tell what you're doing. Man, I was so hurt, I was like, man. I said, well, I ain't trying to make $1 million. I'm trying to make something. I'm trying to, make enough that I break even. He said, yeah, that'd be about like you trying to do it all at once. Yeah. Trying to get her all, aren't you? And I said, no, I just, he said, first of all, you don't need 12 males. You ain't even that far enough in. You need 12 males, and we had a big disagreement and, and I kept going and he was sick then. And so he never got to see it like where it is today. Mm-hmm. But, if he was here today, he'd probably say something like, well, you did her, huh? You got what you want? Is that what you want? Well, good deal. What time we eating supper? It'd be like that, Uh-huh.
Yeah, them daddies.
Yeah, he is a character, man.
Yeah, them daddies we had coming up with tough.
Yes.
More of them, man. Shoot.
Oh, man, he was the realest dude. But if he was here, you guys would all know him. And you'd all have a story, and he was funny too. And probably wouldn't even know me because he was the character like that,
Right.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about that, Jamie.
I know you do. Yeah. But you know what? That's what made us, think so hard about things. And that's what made us tough when we need to be tough. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I got my heart broke a lot of times, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I learned so much, and he's right. I wanted to have the bully dog that did it all. I'll give you another example. I wanted super bully and I wanted to do everything. I wanted to run miles and, run cats up a tree. And I wanted to weight pull and be this great dog in the house and look exactly like I want it to look. My dad says it's impossible. I said, no, it ain't. I'll do it. So I'm trying, I'm getting him kind of bully, but that's about as far as it went, So finally I get one that's, I look back at him now, he's not even that bully. But at the time I thought he was bully and I thought he was just, could do all this stuff. And so I get that one done. I show Dad. I show him on the flirt pole. I show him hanging out of the tree. He's weight. I show him doing all this stuff. Dad says, okay, but he's a fluke. I said, what do you mean he's a fluke? I built him. He ain't no fluke. He said, yeah, James, do that 3 times. Get back to me when you got 3 like that.
Took the air
impossible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's when I learned there's boundaries to everything. And you can get so far. And once in a while, you'll have one that's, an exception to the rule. They're special. They're very special, and he's right. You won't make 3 like that, but I had to learn that the hard way. So.
Yeah. Do you ever get tired of what keeps you from walking away?
Well, what keeps me walking away? I don't know, because I've been trying to walk away for a minute now, and I can't get the other foot out the door, man. Mm-hmm. I cannot do it. And then I go to a show and we sit around the fire. That's my favorite part of the show is afterward.
Yeah.
When we're sitting around the fire and the reel comes out and everybody's comfortable and, you know, and the ones that have to get their beauty rest, they already went to bed. So now it's just the campfire and, you know, we're really going to get into that's when the good dog talking is. That sucks me in every time, every single time. I love that. I love the, you know, sharing experiences part. And, you know, I've had a few of my good friends say, Jamie, you're never going to get out of dogs. It's in you. It's just in you like that. And you're never going to get out. And I didn't think that was true, but, you know, it has been a way of life and it's a habit that's just, I can't change that overnight, you know, not, you know, when you enjoy it too, it's, I love breeding dogs and I'll be behind anybody breeding dogs because we get a bad rap as dog breeders, but without us, there ain't no good dogs. We got to have good breeders and I'll fight for good breeders all day long and fight that we're not all bad, you know, and we're very much needed. But yeah, that's the part I love. I love that part of dogs, you know, to see what I can do. It's like art to me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, we sure do appreciate you coming. Tony, you got anything else for?
I don't know if you guys touched on this, but I've been wanting to ask it the whole time.
Okay.
Color in the Shorty Bull.
Color in the Shorty Bulls. Okay, well, let me tell you about the color, and then I'm going to get out of here.
All right.
Okay, so we can have a lot of colors, but we can't have merle. I said no merle, and I meant no merle. And I don't hate merle, but why does everybody want everything in every size, shape, and color? And then want to stand out? Huh? They want everything. We want it big, little, small. We want it every shade of the rainbow. And then they're going to gripe because they ain't special. Come on.
Yeah. It's got to be.
You can't have everything and be, it can't be that way and be a breed. So do you want to be a breed or do you want to be whatever? Right. So I said no merle. And we don't need merle. You know, merle's in everything. I choose no merle so we can be distinctly different. If you see a merle Shorty Bull, it's not a Shorty Bull. And it's just that simple. But, you know, that's how you stay a breed is you have to have distinction. And sometimes that means not having something, you know. But a lot of times people take that personal, like, oh, they said I can't have that, I'm going to have that. They're never in dogs very long. You know, they just aren't. So I'm not about, you know, the short term. I've been here for a lot of years. This is the long haul. And, you know, I'm going to keep that value about these dogs. There's going to be things that you cannot have and call it a Shorty Bull. You know, there's plenty of options out there. If you want to go do something different, go ahead. You know, if somebody's wanting to add merle to a breed now, they're really late to the party because it's been put in everything it probably should be put in now. So, you know, you might think of something else if it's going to be this, you know, newfound thing that's going to make you famous. It's not going to be adding merle to it. But, you know, I want it to be a breed. I see a lot more value in that than having everything, every size, shape, and color.
Yeah.
So you can have blue, you can have chocolate, you know, you can have try was something that I accepted a few years ago. Amy had accepted it. So in order to, you know, kind of have the same standards, whatever, I said, yes, you can do the tries, you know. So there are some tries, but I just don't feel like we need anything else. I don't feel like we need a teacup. I don't feel like we need an XL. We definitely don't need hairy ones or hairless ones. But after I'm dead, you know, you guys can do whatever you want. But while I'm here, I swear, I can't get my other foot out the door. So you have to put up with me and those kind of rules. But you know, we'll go back to those one day. People will realize how important it is if you want to have a breed because everything's going to start looking the same, you know. And it's going to go back. You know, I don't know. Can it devolve? Like it evolves probably in reverse, you know. We won't be able to tell what's what. I want to be distinctly able to tell what it is.
Right. I saw y'all in the comments saying, throw some pictures up. Don't worry. I'm gonna redrop this with visuals of her dogs. I have it ready in the week. We'll re-put it out
thank you.
with visuals. This podcast will be on all major podcast platforms by Saturday. Spotify, Amazon, all that good stuff. Y'all don't worry, I got it. Because I know y'all want to see the dogs that she's talking about them. So we'll put it out. Tony Clay, brother,
Yes,
I thank you. Man,
no
you don't
problem.
know how when you got a wingman up here, they'll ask things you wouldn't think to ask. So and he has a good history with her and everything. So we appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Somebody asked something. Tony, what you got sitting next to you?
This is my Dobie, man. I didn't know if you guys could see him. My phone died. I was sitting over there, so my phone died. So I had to come over here to my computer. I don't know if you guys can see. You guys see him right there in the screen?
Yeah.
You see him?
I can't see him. Yeah, I can't. Okay. I can't see him.
How he is.
Y'all tell us about the shows coming up. Let's go ahead and promote those shows while we're here before we go.
IOEBA, the very first one is my guy Sykes Pup. So you see on the screen right here.
Yeah,
thank you, I appreciate it. The Arkansas, the Backwood Classic in Arkansas, February
28th.
February 28th. Myself, I'm having one here in Ohio. The Buckeye Battle of the Bulls, March 21st, 2026. And then Hat Creek Bulldogs down in Texas is having one. Don't beat me up. I don't know the exact date on that one, but I want to say that it's in April, somewhere like that of 2020. And then John and Camria with the IOEBA is having our national show in St. Louis in July of 2026. Hopefully there'll be some other people that'll pick up shows, and they'll be be able to extend that show circuit out. But as of right now, those are the shows that they have in place.
Yeah. Well, Miss Jamie, we're gonna get closing remarks and benediction from you. Anything coming up in the future? Like I said, I thank you so much for coming. Glad to meet you.
Oh yes, thanks for having me on. It was my pleasure, and I've told my story a lot, and when you're in dogs this long, you just some of those filters just leave you, So if I was a little bit harsh, whatever, sorry about that, but that's how it is in the real dog world. So I appreciate all the listeners, appreciate your questions. If anybody has any other things they want to talk about, feel free to hit me through Messenger. That's what I do, is just Facebook, a little bit of Instagram, but not much. And I'm happy to help. However, I can share my experiences with you. That's what I go off of. And like I say, I want to see everybody be successful, and it's something that has to be passed on and passed down. And, it's not just you guys against the world when you're just your own kennel. It's not, So.
Right. All right, guys. Thank you again. Another solid show. I'm so glad these legends are coming forth and speaking their piece, so we can all learn this would help the dogs. Tony, thank you. Salute to Ohio, Cleveland. This is for you. Hey, that's my family in Cleveland.
I know.
So yeah. So until the next time, I'm out. Give your dog the best start possible. We offer proven tools, products, and supplements backed by our real-world experience and our passion for healthy dogs.
Step into the realm of canine wisdom with our podcast, NWA Cane Corsos, where we interview dog men and women from around the globe. Discover their talents and insights on breeding, training, nutrition, and the rich history of dogs. Tune in to the most underrated yet influential dog podcast on social media. Your journey into the dog world starts here.